MatLab Audio on music production and audio engineering. Welcome to MatLab Audio and our Insights series. I do believe this is the fourth video in this series, and in this video we want to talk about MatLab or other mathematical scientific software to better understand engineering. So I'm not going to get way too deep into this. In my notebook that's downloadable from the Abouts tab, it has a section on MatLab and some notes that I had made, and I transferred over some of the ones that I thought might be helpful if you got the program. The concept here is that audio engineering, as far as music productions is concerned, we're not building rocket ships. We are just not. Audio engineering and audio engineering concepts can be very complicated and complex, and the math and formulas associated with it are monumentally and monstrously complex. So, if you really want to get in deeper and understand a lot of things you're dealing with, something like MatLab is huge. It's the piece of software I got when I was studying engineering, and it helped me immensely. I'll give you some simple examples. In the piece of software, some simple things that it does is, taking, like, you've got a stereo file here, a piece of audio, and putting in here and analyzing the data. This is the raw data, that this is what you hear. This is what it gets transformed into what you hear. Just all these numbers flying by really rapidly, at different levels. It's amazing, what is actually happening. And you can do all kinds of things with it. Look at it with different plots and, things that are going to visualize what that is in different ways, with lots of tools to help you dig deeper and deeper into it, into what is happening there. It is unbelievably cool to help you understand what's going on in engineering, and some of it might look really simple, but as you start digging into it, you would just be amazed at all the information that you can get, with this piece of software about what's happening with the audio, to really be able to help you relate to the concepts that are happening. And a lot of it, you don't have to be a mathematical wizard to work around it. When I got into it, a lot of the analysis tools, learning to do some light coding and being able to speak the light coding language to be able to utilize some of the tools is helpful. And it doesn't take that much, to get in here in the command window and start, displaying stuff and asking questions about the audio and asking questions about things that are happening. It is really opened up a whole new world of understanding of what's happening with audio engineering. There's also apps in there, that can really help you understand all kinds of things that are happening with the audio, to really get in there and get some, detail way more than you're going to get in a DAW. This is scientific data, a lot of it. If you're going to go to the moon and it's off by one little teeny gnat's butt, you're going to crash, bro. You just are. And so you have to be able to see a gnat's butt. So, it's a scientific software that is just so cool to dig around in. Besides a lot of the simple things that it has, that even for just analyzing data, you can edit in here also. You can actually go look for audio anomalies and issues and edit audio in all kinds of different ways besides analyzing it. You can process audio in here. I actually got to a point in mind that I actually started building an analysis, processing, synthesis laboratory here for working it. It just about got to the point where it was a DAW. Does that make sense? And I stopped because I was like, wait a minute, bro. I'm starting into music and audio engineering, and I was like building a rocket ship. And I was like, okay, next we're going to Mars. And I was like, okay, bro, hold on. Because we're not doing that. How the audio engineering relates to music productions, you don't have to worry about it near as much as some people have you believe. You don't have to have things down to a gnat butt sometimes, but in here you can see what's going on there. And there's analysis tools, tons of analysis tools for you to look at the audio with. You can input from your DAW, you can input from RX or Melodyne or wherever, and stream it or drag files in there. I mean, it's unimaginable the cool stuff you can look at. Visual analysis and processing and all kinds of things that are just, it's phenomenally cool that when you get in there and you start looking at things, things like spectrograms, scopes, and anything like that, array plots, vector scopes, waterfall plots, that you can get visual analysis and information about audio that's happening that is just phenomenally cool. I mean, it's just unbelievable how cool it is that when you get into something and you start opening things up and you start looking at what the heck does that mean? I mean, I don't understand that. What does that mean that, if I'm starting to use the spectrum analyzer, that there's things that it will do when it's looking at audio and the other types of software that's designed to be able to see things down to a gnat's butt, to where people will be talking about timbre and saturations, distortions, harmonic content like I have a lot of times, and you're trying to really pull this apart in your DAW, and sometimes it's not as easy as you might think, because you're not really getting as accurate of information as you might think, because you don't really need it that accurate. You don't. A lot of times you're getting a good understanding what's happening, and you want to use your ears. It helps a lot, but if you are not going to build no rocket ship to Mars, bro, you will crash, I guarantee you. So, in here, it just opens up a whole new world to where as you get going, the processing tools, the analysis tools, the coding environment, all the things that you can do in here. You visualize everything. Besides, being able to see things with scientific tools that, it can deal with it also in a binary world that can also relate it to an analog world, to where you can have a much better understanding of what's happening there. It's like, well, this is analog, this is digital, and why, we deal with things the way we do sometimes, because they're two different worlds. But it's gotten to the point that the digital world is master, and it just is. We can do things in a digital world that we could never do in the analog world ever. There's no way you could ever do that, bro. It's just not going to happen. But in a digital world, we can do magic. We can change reality. It's a drop of a hat in the digital world. And you get a really cool look at that in something like MatLab, because it is so cool. You get in here and you understand things, even simple things like the data. What's happening in this audio file? That's it. How I sat there. This is a movie score. I spent 6 months working on this, and it's got every effect you could imagine. It's got every compositional thing that you could ever think of, and I've spent 6 months in a dark dungeon crafting it into this beautiful piece of work. And that's it, bro. It's these two numbers rolling along really fast. That is crazy, but it is. Does that make sense? It's amazing. And you get in there and start analyzing what that is. And you can change things to such a minuscule amount that when you start editing, you can edit, you wouldn't believe it. It's like you being able to, in a DAW, you can see a hair on your hand, right? And so if it's a problem and it's sticking left, you can chunk it out, right? And here, you can see the atoms, bro. You can see the atoms that make it all work and how, how it's being held together and all its components and everything. It's unimaginably cool. And like I said, you don't have to become a rocket scientist to understand how cool it is once you start digging around it. Now, granted, there is a learning curve, and you will be spending some nights, messing with things and trying to figure out what, because some of them, I learned that you're dealing with somebody that's, trying to build a rocket ship and he's going to Mars, and you're trying to understand, so he's going, so you want me to tell you how to analyze Bob's vocal? Yeah, well, I'm building a rocket ship to Mars right now, bro. And you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, because sometimes, they don't really see music production at some point as quite the in-depth engineering that they're doing. Does that make sense? It's a different kind of thing, which it's true, but nowadays it's gotten pretty complicated, and the tools we use are pretty complex, but it is cool. And the more you want to understand about engineering, the more you'll get in here and just start digging around. There are tons of toolboxes and different components that can do wild, cool things that you could never do in a DAW. You could never process that. You could never analyze that. You could never get down and see that binary data like that. You could never really, you're not going to see it. I mean, does that make sense? And the deeper you get into it, that you will come to a point like I did, if you really get into it and you just go, well, that's just a little bit, it's just completely overkill. What we do sometimes when they talk about music industry, it's like, nah, you ain't never going to hear that, bro. That, unless you're building a rocket ship to Mars, that is pointless. There is no way that has no place. And why would I even think about that? Because it's overkill to the point of ridiculousness. But you also understand it. The better you understand it, the better engineer you're going to be, and the better you would understand that. To when you pull out an equalizer or reverberation, or you're doing whatever you're trying to do, and even composition, understanding things in composition, how those are laying out. I mean, it's cool. And the more that you kind of mess around with it, you start, I very literally got in there, and it was like, it was so messed up, because I just kept getting more and deeper and deeper. And I started building this DAW. It was like a rocket ship DAW. And you could sit here and analyze down to a gnat's butt. I could see the atoms of the music production and all the functioning workings, the formulas, everything, and it was just like, it got to the point that it was really cool. But then I realized that it was, how do I say that without it come out sounding like, don't go there? It was, it really showed me the application of audio engineering and music production, when it's applicable, when it isn't, when things are overkill, when things are redundant, when things are useless, and what you really can do, music production. Then when it's truncated down to an MP3, and it's like taking a photocopy of a Rembrandt, what you actually got, bro. So you can get in there also and look at that kind of stuff to where you can really visualize the differences there. In right down to the atom, right? And what's going on there, so you can have a much better understanding of that. It is just cool. So I kind of wanted to make a video about this because I had a lot of fun. I really did. When I first got MatLab and I started audio engineering, at first, to be honest with you, I went into the math, and the math was brutal, bro. The math and the coding was brutal. And once I got over that, and I was like, wait a minute, bro, I don't need to go there that deep. I'm not building a rocket ship to Mars. I need to understand music production, audio engineering as far as music is concerned. And I took a little step back and went, what do I really need to know to analyze that, visualize that, see what's going on, edit those things, process those things in a mathematical environment like something like MatLab? And it really took a lot of the weight off my shoulders, because I realized it was possible, and I didn't need to go to school for 12 years to be a mathematical genius to be able to understand those concepts, utilize those things, and use the analysis tools to see what was going on. And even today, sometimes it's like, what the heck is that? That is messed up. I don't know what that is. I'm going to copy this, pass that over there, and it's an anomaly. It's gone. It's gone. That anomaly is gone. I don't know what it was. Who cares? Does that make sense? I mean, you can really just sit down and look down to a gnat's butt what's happening, and it is really cool to help you better understand audio engineering. And even if you don't get in it really deep, getting a copy of something like MatLab and spending some time in the evenings messing around with it and seeing what it'll actually show you is really cool, because it is going to make you a better audio engineer, and it's going to make you a more functional audio engineer as far as music productions are concerned, because you will have a lot better understanding of what you really can and can't do, and what is really important in a music production as far as audio engineering is concerned, and understand the limitations and the boundaries and what is really applicable and what isn't as far as audio engineering when dealing with music, as an audio engineer dealing with music. So I certainly hope that helped enlighten you a little bit, because I was going to make a series about this, but it's something that, you just want to check out. Check it out, bro. It doesn't cost that much, and you will probably have some fun. If you're an audio engineer, you will enjoy it, and you will find some really cool things. And a lot of times, I still use some of the tools in my productions. I'm going, what is that? I don't know. I'm not really seeing it anywhere, but in MatLab, I pull out MatLab, I'm going to find it in 2 seconds, bro. It's going to stand out like a big fluorescent sore thumb. There it is, right there, bro. Does that make sense? And it's amazing. So anyway, I certainly hope you enjoyed this next video on our new series, and I certainly hope that you would take some time to buy something like MatLab and spend some time experimenting around and playing in it and learning some more about some in-depth engineering and some in-depth audio engineering. So peace, self-love. I certainly hope you enjoyed this next video in our new series, and I will see you in the next video.